The night was supposed to be magical, a celebration that would bring our family closer together. My sister's engagement party was hosted at this lavish banquet hall, decorated with golden drapes, soft lights twinkling like stars, and tables lined with crystal glasses. Guests laughed, cameras flashed, and everything looked picture-perfect from the outside. But inside me, something already felt off, like a storm waiting to break. When my parents took the stage, their faces glowed with pride. "We couldn't be happier for our daughter," my mom said, her voice trembling with joy. Everyone applauded, raising their glasses high while I clapped quietly, trying to blend into the background. I had grown used to this, my parents showering my sister with endless praise while I sat in the shadows. Still, I told myself, tonight isn't about me. Let her have her moment. Then came the gift giving. Beautifully wrapped boxes tied with silver ribbons were brought out. My sister and her fiancé personally handed them to each guest. Jewelry for the aunts, sleek watches for the uncles, custom perfumes for cousins, engraved pens for family friends. The room buzzed with excitement as people opened their boxes, gasping and smiling. I waited, my palms pressed against my lap as I rehearsed the smile I'd put on when it was finally my turn. Surely, I thought, they wouldn't forget me. Not tonight. But the boxes dwindled. One by one, hands reached out and unwrapped their treasures. The pile shrank until there was nothing left. The laughter echoed. The applause rose again. And then, silence. Awkward silence. Because it hit everyone at once. Everyone had received a gift. Except me. My heart pounded. My face flushed hot. I wanted to disappear, to vanish beneath the floor. A few relatives glanced at me, pity in their eyes, while others quickly looked away. I forced a smile, though inside my chest it felt like a glass shattering. And then, the final blow. My father raised his glass again and said, "Now for the moment we've all been waiting for." The lights dimmed, a spotlight fell, and my sister's fiancé dropped to one knee. The room gasped as he revealed a glittering diamond ring. Cheers erupted. My parents wiped tears of joy. Cameras flashed endlessly. I sat frozen, invisible, like furniture in the room. The realization hit me hard. The missing gift wasn't an accident. It was intentional. A message. I wasn't important enough to be acknowledged. As applause filled the hall, my throat tightened. I couldn't even hear the words of the proposal through the pounding in my ears. All I could think was how cruelly I had been dismissed, like I didn't even belong to this family. But here's the thing about pain. It plants seeds. That night, I realized something had to change. They might have forgotten me at that table, but I wouldn't let them forget what I was capable of. So I stayed silent, smiling faintly, clapping politely for my sister's big moment. But deep down, a plan was forming. Stay with me, because this isn't just a story about being left out. It's about how I uncovered a truth that shattered my family's perfect image, and how I turned their own cruelty into the sweetest revenge they never saw coming. I should probably introduce myself now. My name is Rachel. I'm 27 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've lived in the shadow of my younger sister, Claire. We grew up in a small suburban town where everyone knew each other, and from the outside, we looked like the perfect family. My father ran a successful real estate business, and my mother was heavily involved in charity circles. But behind those polished smiles and family photos, the reality was much colder. Claire was the golden child. She was the one who got the first piano lessons, the best dresses, and every ounce of praise my parents had to offer. "Our Claire is so talented," they'd gush at gatherings. "She's going to do great things." And then, almost as an afterthought, someone would ask about me. My mother would smile politely and say something vague like, "Oh, Rachel's doing fine." That was it. No spark in her eyes, no pride in her voice. Just fine. It wasn't that I didn't try. I was the one who spent long nights buried in books, the one who worked extra hours at part-time jobs to save money for college. I studied accounting and eventually earned a respectable position at a firm in the city. I paid my bills, supported myself, and never asked them for anything. But compared to Claire, who had chosen a more glamorous path, my achievements seemed invisible to them. And here's the cruel part. No matter how successful I became, they always managed to remind me that Claire was their star. When she got into dance school, they threw her a party. When she graduated, another party. When she landed her first job, yet another celebration. For me, silence. Not even a family dinner. Still, I never hated her. Claire was, well, she could be selfish, but she wasn't outright cruel. Most of the time, I thought of her as someone who simply benefited from our parents' favoritism rather than actively encouraging it. But what I didn't know then was how blind loyalty to family could eventually twist into betrayal. Looking back, the signs were always there. The way my parents dismissed my achievements with a wave of the hand. The way they sometimes forgot to include me in family photos until someone reminded them. Even the way they introduced us to others. This is Claire, our dancer. And oh, this is Rachel, her older sister. Like my entire identity was just being an accessory to hers. Oh, when I sat at that engagement dinner, overlooked and giftless, the pain I felt wasn't born in that single moment. It was a lifetime of being sidelined, of never being enough. That night wasn't just humiliation. It was confirmation of everything I had feared since childhood. To them, I didn't matter. But I need to be honest about something else. That night, as my sister slipped on the sparkling diamond ring and kissed her fiancé to thunderous applause, I wasn't only feeling hurt, I was also watching, observing, noticing details no one else paid attention to. My sister's trembling hands, the way her fiancé avoided looking at me when he spoke, the hushed whispers between my parents when they thought no one was listening. Because beneath the glitter and glamour of that perfect night, something was off, and I could feel it in my bones. This story wasn't just about me being forgotten. Something much darker was hidden behind the smiles, and sooner or later, it was going to surface. The applause from the proposal echoed in my ears long after the hall quieted down. Everyone was busy congratulating Claire and her fiancé Ethan. People lined up to hug them, to admire the diamond on her finger, to snap photos for social media. I clapped along like everyone else, my smile plastered on though it felt like my face might crack from the effort. Inside, I was screaming. But it wasn't just the humiliation of being the only one left out that gnawed at me. It was something else. I couldn't shake the look on Ethan's face when he slid that ring onto Claire's finger. His smile seemed too tight, his eyes darting nervously toward me as if he was hiding something. And when our eyes met, just for a split second, he looked away so fast it was almost guilty. I brushed it off, telling myself I was imagining things. Maybe I was projecting my pain, trying to find cracks in someone else's happiness, Joe. Asked because mine felt invisible. But then, during the toasts, something happened that confirmed my suspicions. My father stood and proudly raised his glass. To Claire and Ethan, he announced. The perfect couple. May their future be as bright as the diamond on her hand. Everyone cheered. Then Ethan stood up to give his own speech. He thanked my parents, thanked Claire, thanked everyone for being there. But when he turned toward me, his voice caught for just a fraction of a second. And to Rachel, he said quickly, before rushing past my name like it burned his tongue. The air between us tightened. Nobody else noticed, but I did. Later, as the party carried on, I slipped away to catch my breath near the back of the hall. That's when I overheard voices, my parents whispering behind one of the draped partitions. Are you sure this is wise? My mother asked, her tone anxious. My father sighed. It's already decided. Rachel doesn't need to be involved. This night is about Claire. Don't complicate it. Complicate what? I froze, every nerve in my body on edge. They were hiding something. Before I could dwell on it, Claire came bouncing toward me, her cheeks flushed with excitement. She threw her arms around me. Can you believe it, Rachel? I'm engaged. Her joy was genuine, but even in her excitement, she didn't seem to notice the absence of a gift in my lap or the tightness in my smile. I hugged her back, forcing warmth into my voice. I'm happy for you, I said, though the words tasted bitter. As the night went on, I caught Ethan stealing glances at me. Not casual glances, but the kind of looks people give when they're afraid of what you might say, afraid of what you might know. Every time our eyes met, he quickly looked away, gripping Claire's hand tighter as if to anchor himself. The whispers, the guilty looks, the deliberate way I had been excluded from the gift exchange. Piece by piece, it felt like something was unraveling in front of me, but nobody else could see it. I told myself to stay quiet, to wait. If there was something hidden beneath all this glitter and celebration, it would reveal itself soon enough. And when it did, I needed to be ready. What I didn't realize then was that the betrayal had already begun, and it was going to cut far deeper than I ever imagined. The engagement party eventually wound down, but I couldn't shake the unease gnawing at me. Laughter and music still floated through the hall as guests drifted out, yet all I could hear were my father's words. Rachel doesn't need to be involved. Involved in what? I tried to push the thought aside, but then something happened that cemented every suspicion I had. As I made my way toward the coat check, I spotted Ethan outside on the balcony, speaking in hushed tones on his phone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but the way he was pacing, the tension in his voice, it was impossible not to notice. "I told you, not now," he whispered sharply. "Do you understand how risky this is? If she finds out—" He froze, suddenly aware someone was nearby. His head snapped in my direction. Our eyes locked for a split second before he hung up and shoved the phone into his pocket. "Rachel," he said, forcing a smile. "I was just, making sure the catering staff got paid." I didn't respond. I simply raised an eyebrow, and that was enough to make him shift uncomfortably. He muttered something about checking on Claire and hurried inside. My gut told me something wasn't right. Ethan wasn't just nervous about being engaged. He was hiding something. And somehow, I was at the center of it. The next morning, I decided I couldn't let it go. I needed answers. That's when I logged onto social media and started scrolling through the photos from the engagement. Claire had already posted dozens. Her beaming smile, the ring sparkling under the lights, Ethan holding her hand. But then, buried in one of the group shots, my stomach flipped. Ethan's eyes weren't on Claire. They were on me. Not once, not twice. In picture after picture, his gaze drifted toward me, lingering like a shadow he couldn't escape. No one else noticed. It was subtle, easy to dismiss as coincidence. But I knew better. The uneasy feeling in my chest turned into something heavier. I dug deeper, scrolling back months into Claire's posts, searching for signs. And there it was, a photo from a family barbecue. Claire laughing in the foreground, Ethan standing beside her. But again, his eyes were locked on me. It hit me like ice water. Ethan wasn't just hiding something. He was hiding something about me. I told myself I was overthinking, but then another memory surfaced. Months earlier, Ethan had shown up at the coffee shop near my office. Alone. He claimed he was just passing through, but he lingered too long, asked too many personal questions. At the time, I brushed it off as friendliness. Now it felt different. The pieces were coming together, and the picture wasn't pretty. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions without proof, so I started paying attention, really paying attention. To Claire's words, to Ethan's behavior, to my parents' strange silences. And the more I observed, the clearer it became. Everyone knew something I didn't. Everyone, except me. That was the real betrayal. Not just the forgotten gift, not just being sidelined. It was that my family, the people who were supposed to protect me, were keeping a secret that involved Claire's fiancé and me. And the truth? It was about to blow everything apart. The days after the engagement party were a blur. Claire called me constantly, gushing about wedding plans, asking if I would help her pick out dresses, venues, flowers. Her voice dripped with excitement, and I tried to match her energy, but underneath, I was boiling with questions. Questions I didn't dare ask outright. Meanwhile, Ethan kept calling me too, though. Each for very different reasons. Short, cryptic calls, always under the pretense of something innocent. "Hey, Rachel, did Claire leave her jacket at your place?" Or, "Do you know what kind of flowers she likes best?" Harmless on the surface, but the tone of his voice told another story. It was strained, nervous, like he was testing me. I couldn't take it anymore. One evening, I decided to confront him directly. Claire had gone to a late dance rehearsal, and Ethan stopped by my apartment to drop off a folder Claire forgot. I opened the door, arms crossed, heart pounding. "You can stop pretending," I said flatly. He blinked, feigning confusion. "Pretending? About what?" About whatever's going on between you and me. The looks, the calls, the way you can't even hide your guilt. What are you so afraid I'll find out? His face drained of color. He opened his mouth, then shut it again, as though words might betray him more than silence ever could. Finally, he whispered, "Rachel, I never meant for it to get this far." I froze. Get this far? My chest tightened. What are you talking about? He ran a hand through his hair, pacing like a man trapped in his own lies. Before Claire, before all of this, I had feelings for you. The room spun. My knees felt weak, and I gripped the back of a chair to steady myself. What? It was before we started dating seriously, he rushed on. I met you first, at that coffee shop months ago. Do you remember? You thought it was a coincidence, but it wasn't. I went there because I knew you worked nearby. I wanted to talk to you, but I didn't have the courage. Then Claire came along. I couldn't breathe. My sister's fiancé, soon-to-be husband, was confessing that I had been his first choice. That everything he built with Claire had started with a lie. Rage, guilt, and heartbreak collided inside me. I shouted, "Do you have any idea what you're saying? Do you know what this would do to Claire if she ever found out?" "I know," he said desperately. "That's why you can't tell her. Please, Rachel, it's over. I chose her. I'm committed to her. But I had to tell you the truth." Tears blurred my vision, not because I felt flattered, but because I felt sick. Sick that my family had excluded me at the engagement party. Sick that Ethan had been staring at me instead of my sister. Sick that once again, I was caught in a web I never asked to be part of. When Claire came home that night, she bounded into my apartment, radiant and oblivious. She kissed Ethan, who tried to act normal, but I could see the cracks. I could see the way his hands trembled slightly when he touched her. And I knew then, this secret wouldn't stay buried forever. Because if I didn't expose it, the weight of it would destroy me. After Ethan's confession, I could barely sleep. His words replayed in my mind on a loop. I had feelings for you first. It wasn't just wrong, it was poison. I felt trapped between two unbearable choices: protect my sister from heartbreak, or tell her the truth and risk destroying her entire future. But the decision was made for me sooner than I expected. A week later, Claire invited the whole family to a private dinner at our parents' house. She said it was to discuss wedding plans. The house was glowing with soft candlelight, the dining table stretched long with fine china, and my mother beamed with excitement. I sat quietly, my hands trembling under the table, as Claire chattered about color schemes and guest lists. Ethan sat beside her, pale and stiff, his fork clinking nervously against his plate. My parents looked at him with such pride, such absolute certainty, it almost made me laugh. If only they knew, I thought bitterly. If only they knew the man they're worshipping was looking at me while promising forever to their golden child. The longer I sat there, the angrier I became. I remembered, that night at the engagement party, how they gave everyone a gift but left me empty-handed. How they erased me in front of everyone, as though I wasn't even part of the family. And then it clicked. This wasn't just about protecting Claire. This was about reclaiming the dignity they had stolen from me. So when my father raised his glass for another one of his proud toasts, I did something I never imagined I'd do. I stood. The room fell silent. Every eye turned toward me. My voice was steady, though my heart thundered in my chest. "I'd like to make a toast too," I said. Claire smiled innocently, gesturing for me to continue. Ethan's eyes widened in panic. I lifted my glass. To honesty, because marriages built on lies never last. My words sliced through the air like a knife. Murmurs rippled around the table. Claire frowned. "Rachel, what are you talking about?" I set my glass down and looked directly at Ethan. "Why don't you tell her? Or should I?" His face went ghost white. "Rachel, please." "No," I cut him off, my voice trembling but firm. "She deserves to know the truth. She deserves to know that before you proposed to her, you confessed to me that I was the one you wanted first. that you only settled for her because you didn't have the courage to say it out loud. The silence that followed was deafening. Claire's hand slipped from Ethan's grasp as tears welled in her eyes. My parents gasped, my mother shaking her head in disbelief. "Is this true?" Claire whispered, her voice breaking. Ethan stammered. It's not what it sounds like. "Answer me!" she screamed, slamming her hand on the table. But the truth was written all over his face. The room exploded. My mother sobbed into her hands. My father cursed under his breath, glaring at Ethan with murderous rage. And Claire shattered. She pushed back her chair, ran from the table, and slammed her bedroom door upstairs. Ethan tried to follow, but my father stopped him cold. "Get out!" he growled. Ethan looked at me one last time, his eyes pleading, but I didn't flinch. I simply sat back down, lifted my glass again, and whispered, "To honesty." That was my revenge. Not just exposing Ethan, but forcing my family to finally see me. Not as a shadow, not as an afterthought, but as the one who pulled back the curtain on their perfect little illusion. That night marked the end of more than just an engagement. It marked the end of the silence I had lived in my whole life. For the first time, I wasn't the invisible daughter, the accessory to my sister's spotlight. I was the one who spoke, the one who revealed the truth no one else had the courage to face. The aftermath was messy. Claire didn't speak to me for weeks. She was devastated, humiliated, and heartbroken. At first, I felt guilty, like maybe I had destroyed her happiness out of spite. But as the days passed, I realized something important. I hadn't ruined her life. Ethan had. He was the one who chose lies, who dragged me into his web, who pretended to love her while staring at me from the shadows. Eventually, Claire came to see that. One night, she showed up at my apartment, her eyes swollen from crying, but her voice steadier than I expected. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she whispered. I swallowed hard. "Because I wanted to protect you. And because I was scared no one would believe me." She nodded slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. Then she hugged me. For the first time in years, it felt real. Not the shallow embraces we shared at holidays, but a genuine connection between sisters. As for my parents, their reaction was complicated. My father refused to speak about the incident, choosing instead to bury himself in work. My mother, on the other hand, surprised me. She called me one evening, her voice softer than I'd ever heard. "Rachel, I'm sorry. For everything. For overlooking you. For making you feel less than your sister. That wasn't fair." I didn't know if I believed her completely, but hearing those words was something I had craved my entire life. Maybe it was too late to fix all the years of damage, but it was a start. And Ethan? He disappeared from our lives almost overnight. I heard whispers that he moved to another city, his reputation in shambles. He tried reaching out once, sending me a message that said, "I never meant to hurt you." I deleted it without replying, because he had hurt me, and worse, he had hurt Claire. What I gained, though, was something I never expected: freedom. For years, I had let my family's favoritism define me, make me small, make me invisible. But standing up that night, exposing the truth in front of everyone, showed me my own strength. I wasn't just the forgotten daughter anymore. I was Rachel, the woman who finally chose herself. The engagement gifts they refused to give me that night didn't matter anymore. My gift was my voice. My gift was realizing I didn't need their approval to be worthy. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt like the invisible one in your family, let me tell you something. Your worth isn't defined by the way others treat you. Sometimes the moment you decide to stand up for yourself is the moment you finally step into the light. That's what I did. And I'll never go back to being silent again. If my story resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Family drama, betrayal, revenge, this isn't just entertainment. These are stories that remind us all. Even in the darkest moments, you can find your strength.